A very good morning to all of you. Today we're going to take up one of the famous dramas of William Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice. Before we move on with the play, let us know a little bit about this great dramatist. William Shakespeare was a renowned English poet, playwright, and actor who was born in 1564. His birthday is most commonly celebrated on 23rd April, which is also believed to be the date of his death in 1616. Some of his popular plays are Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, and Macbeth. Shakespeare's work include 38 plays, 2 narrative poems, 154 sonnets, and a variety of other poems. He is the inventor of many words in English, many of which feature in dictionary today. His writing is the second most popular after the Bible. The drama Merchant of Venice has been cut short into 3 scenes for you in order to make the story simple and easy to understand. Let us get familiarized with the characters of the story. Shylock is a Jewish money lender in Venice. Antonio is a rich merchant of Venice and Bassanio's close friend. Bassanio is a gentleman from Venice and a very close friend of Antonio who wishes to marry Portia. Portia is a wealthy lady from Belmont. Nerissa, she is Portia's lady-in-waiting. The other characters are the Duke of Venice and the courtiers. Antonio is a rich Venetian merchant who has sent several trade ships out to sea, and his friends think that Antonio is worried and that his ships might sink during the voyage. However, Antonio is too smart to put all his eggs in one basket. That means he has not invested all his money in one ship. Antonio's close friend Bassanio wishes to make a secret trip to Belmont in order to woo the rich heiress Portia, for which he required a lot of money. Bassanio had been very careless with the money that he had, and now needed more money. Thus he approached Antonio. But at this moment, Antonio seemed to be helpless. However, he offers to stand as a guarantor for the money that he borrows from Shylock, the Jew, the moneylender. When the curtains draw aside, we find Bassanio and Shylock on the stage discussing the terms of Bassanio's proposed loan. It is later that Antonio also joins them. Shylock: 3,000 ducats? Well, you need 3,000 ducats. Bassanio agrees and says, yes, sir, for 3 months, that I need the money for 3 months. Shylock replies, for 3 months? Well, he is a little thoughtful about giving the money for 3 months to Bassanio, a person who does not care about money at all. And then Bassanio says, for which, as I told you, Antonio shall be bound. And he tells him that Antonio is going to stand as a guarantor for the same. Shylock: Antonio shall be bound? Well, Shylock gives a second thought and says, is Antonio going to stand as a guarantor for the same? Antonio is a good man, yet his means are uncertain. The man is notwithstanding sufficient. I think I may take this bond. At this moment, he says, Antonio is a good man who is always ready to help others. But at this moment, his ships are all out at sea, and there is no scope of their return. He does not have sufficient money to return back. But even then, I think I shall go ahead with the bond. Bassanio, he says, be assured you may remain assured that I will return the money. Shylock, 3,000 ducats? This is a good round sum. 3 months from 12. Then let me see the rate of interest. Shylock, he thinks that 3,000 ducats. It's a big amount. 3 months from 12, that means he requires it for 3 months. Let me check the rate of interest. After thinking for a while, he turns towards Antonio with a thought and he says, I will give you what you need and not charge a penny of interest. This is a kind offer. I have a wonderful offer for you. I shall give you the money that you require and I shall not charge any interest on it. Hearing these words, Bassanio says, this really would be kind. It would be your kindness if you do so. But at the same time, Shylock says, add a clause for a joke. Add a clause to the bond. If you do not repay me on the day we agree on, let the forfeit be an equal pound of your fair flesh. If you are unable to pay me the amount that you borrow, then I shall be allowed to take a pound of your flesh. Bassanio, worried about his friend Antonio, turns towards him and says, you shall not sign such a bond for me. I will rather live without money. He says that I do not want you to sign such a bond which is threat to your life. I would rather manage without money than borrow money from such a person. Antonio tries to calm his friend and say, do not fear. Within these 2 months, I do expect to return 3 times the value of this bond. He assures his friend that within 2 months his ships would return, and he would be able to return 3 times the money that is mentioned in the bond. Then Antonio turns towards Shylock and he says, yes, Shylock, I will agree to sign the bond. I am ready to sign the bond that you have framed. The story moves to Belmont, where young, beautiful, and wealthy Portia is choosing a suitor. Her father's will has made it impossible for her to choose her own husband. According to the will, each of her suitors must pass a test. They must choose between three caskets, one of gold, the second of silver, and the third of lead. Whosoever chose the correct casket may marry Portia. Bassanio arrives and exchanges a glance with Portia. He selects the correct casket, made of lead. Portia and he rejoice, they're happy. Meanwhile, Gratiano declares his love for Nerissa. The couples decide on a joint wedding ceremony. The happiness of wedding celebration is cut short by the news that Antonio's ships are lost at sea. And at this moment, a messenger enters. Messenger, sir, I have a letter for you from Antonio. He hands over a letter that Antonio has sent for Bassanio. Bassanio reads the letter and seems upset. He is worried. Looking at her husband, Portia asks, what is written in the letter, my lord? She addresses Bassanio as my lord, my husband. But what is there in the letter? Bassanio discloses the content of the letter to Portia and tells her that his dear friend Antonio's ships have sunk and hence he must surrender to the terms of the bond. And now he has to surrender himself to the terms, to the words written in the bond that were made by Shylock, that were written down by Shylock. Portia. How much does he owe Shylock? How much is he to pay back Shylock? And Bassanio replies that he is to pay back 3,000 ducats. When Portia learns about the amount of the bond, she immediately offers to pay 20 times over. That means 20 times of the amount borrowed. However, the court hearing must take place. Bassanio and Grushanio immediately leave for Venice to try and save Antonio's life. After they leave, Portia plots with Nerissa, and the two women plan to go to Venice disguised as men. The scene 3 opens in the court. We find the Duke of Venice, Antonio, Bassanio, Grushanio, and others. Duke: What, is Antonio here? Has Antonio arrived? Antonio announces his presence by saying, Yes, sir. Duke: I am sorry for you. I am really sorry for you. You have come here to face a stony adversary. You are going to face a person who has got a stone's heart, a ruthless, a merciless person, inhuman enemy, an enemy who does not have any mercy within him, who is incapable of pity, who does not have a tinge of pity within him. Antonio: I have been told you have done everything in your power to convince Shylock to forget our bargain. Antonio expresses his gratitude towards the Duke by saying that he is grateful to him for trying different ways in order to convince Shylock to forget about the bond. However, the man remains stubborn, but I know Shylock is a stubborn person. He would not move an inch, and there is no law to shield me from his malicious ways, and there is no law in Venice that can protect me from his evil thoughts. Duke then tells one of the courtiers, One of you go and call the Jew in the court. Here Jew refers to Shylock. Duke is calling Shylock to the court. Solario: He is ready at the door. He comes, my lord. He is already waiting at the door, my lord, and he comes inside. Shylock enters the court. As he enters, Duke tells other courtiers to make space for him. Let him stand before me. Let him come and stand right in front of me. Then he turns towards Shylock and says, Everyone here thinks you are doing this merely to scare Antonio. Everyone in the court believes that you are just trying to frighten Antonio. We think you plan to show mercy at the last second. We all believe that you would show mercy towards Antonio at the last moment. That, in fact, will be a stranger than strange cruelty you are now displaying. That act of yours will be even more strange than the strange behavior you depict at this moment. Though you are here to collect your penalty, a pound of Antonio's flesh, we don't think you will actually take it. We all know that you have come here to seek justice for the forfeiture of your bond and take a pound of Antonio's flesh, but we believe that you will not take it. When his ship sank, he faced a great enough loss to put even the richest merchants in Venice out of business. When the ships of Antonio sank, he faced such a great loss that it was more than enough to put a rich merchant of Venice out of business. We all expect that you would answer in a kind manner, O Jew. Shylock in response says, You know what I will do. I have sworn by Holy Spat to take my penalty. You know what intentions I have. I come here for justice, for I have taken an oath by my holy book to see the forfeiture of my bond. If you refuse me, and your city law and freedom will be in danger. At that moment, the law and freedom in the city would be questioned, for no merchants from other cities would like to invest here. I hate Antonio, so why must I give reason for demanding my penalty, even though it's unprofitable, even when I do not gain any profit out of it? Is that a good enough answer? Isn't my answer enough to satisfy you? Hearing the rude reply of Shylock, Bassanio calls him a heartless man. He says, nor does it excuse your actions. Your words do not excuse. They are not an excuse for the action that you're going to perform. At that moment, Shylock, in a very rude manner, replies to Bassanio. He says, I am not bound to please you with my answer. I'm not here to please you with my answers. Bassanio tells him, not all men kill what they hate, that everyone does not kill whatever they hate. Shylock replies, that don't the people like to or want to kill the thing that they hate in their life? Bassanio replies, disliking something and hating something are two different things. At that moment, Shylock asks a question from Bassanio and said, would he let the same snake bite him again and again? For he could not let Antonio insult him again and again in retaliation. At this moment, Antonio interfered and asked Bassanio not to beg in front of Shylock and stop arguing with him. He told him that you might as well ask the sea to be smaller, that you may ask the sea to reduce its wave and be smaller. You may even ask a wolf that why did it kill the little lamb and made its mother cry. But you cannot change the mind of Shylock. He says, make him no more offers. Don't try to stop him. Let him do what he wants. And let me receive my punishment, and let the punishment come to me. Hearing the words of Antonio, Bassanio makes a last attempt to convince Shylock. He says, you are owed 3,000 ducats. Here, I offer you 6. We are to pay you 3,000 ducats, but I am ready to give you double the amount, that is 6,000 ducats. Shylock replies, I would not accept 6 times that amount. I want my plenty. He says, I will not accept any money, even if you multiply the same 6 times. I just need the forfeiture of my bond. At that moment, the Duke tells Shylock, how can you hope for mercy yourself when you show none? How can you expect someone to show mercy to you when you yourself do not show any for others? Shylock replies to the Duke. He says, what judgment do I need to fear? Why should be I afraid of the judgment? I haven't done anything wrong. I have not done anything wrong till now. I have paid a lot for that pound of flesh. I have paid a heavy amount for that pound of flesh, and now I want it. He then threatens the Duke and tells him, if you refuse me, the law in Venice will lose their power, that it will stand to be questioned. I wait for justice. I am waiting for justice to come from you. Will I have it? The Duke, at this moment, he says, upon my power, I may dismiss this court unless Bellario, the learned judge, come here today. If Bellario, the learned judge, does not come here in the court, I may dismiss the court. I had asked him to come and act as a judge to settle this matter. I had asked him to come over here and settle down this dispute. At that moment, Salario immediately informs the Duke, My lord, there is a messenger waiting outside with a letter from Bellario, who lives in Padua. Does Bellario arrives in the court of Venice? Is Antonio able to save himself from the cruel hands of Shylock? We shall find all this in the next video. Thank you and have a nice day.